Good hello. In this week's case study, I'm going to be looking at Jack Ma, the Chinese businessman, entrepreneur, and philanthropist. And I'm going to be looking at the wealth signs seen in his hands, and I'm also going to be looking at his past, where he is on his lifeline at present, and I'm also going to be looking at his future as well, his future potential as well. Jack Ma has an analytical hand, although it is a long palm and short fingers, so it's just about a fire hand. Motivated, inspirational, constantly on the move, very active, very efficient, hard-working, a people person. Although, he has these fiery traits, there's a very analytical side to him. Now, check out the second phalanges of all the fingers. They're all on the long side, and you can see it more clearly in this image here. And what this really provides is an excellent ability with numbers, with maths, numerical ability. And that combined with the headline that stops underneath Apollo as well, accentuates it and enhances this mathematical ability. Someone who's very good with numbers. Now, entrepreneurs, people, billionaires, essentially, normally, like Bill Gates, and I've done a palm reading on Bill Gates if you want to check that out, have earth hands. They're very material, very down to earth. They are kind of obsessed with the practical. However, Jack Ma has very unique hands for a billionaire. And I say that because, in a sense, from what I get from his hands, actually, he doesn't care all that much about money. And in a way, that lack of commitment, that tie, that worry has allowed him to fight through adversity. So fight through financial loss. He's not clinging, he's looking ahead and actually thinking about the bigger picture. His Jupiter finger is on the short side. It doesn't reach past the halfway mark of the first valence of Saturn. And also we have a very a low set Mercury finger, although the Mercury finger is on the long side, and this increases that capacity for learning and business skills. And what the Jupiter finger, this reduced Jupiter finger with a widened basal phalanx, shows us is an inferiority complex, and this is compensated for by either sex, drugs, or alcohol. The reasons for this inferiority complex stem from lack of a father figure, a father presence when young. And this actually brings us to my next point about his past. So what do his hands show us about his past? Well, you notice here that the life and the headline are joined for quite some time, up until about the age of, I'm going to say about 20. And this shows a shy person, probably someone who's very cautious, reserved, and lacking in confidence. And that is also evidenced by the low set Mercury, this inability to articulate emotions as well. There was a lack of encouragement and development. And this all stems from latency, from that age of 0 to 6. What we really need is nurturing, encouragement, a hug every now and then from our parents. And if we're not getting this kind of emotional support, this emotional development and growth, then it stumps us in certain ways as adults. And that's essentially what's happened here. There is a chaining effect where the life and the headline are joined. There's an island here. I think early teens really was a real struggle, very unhappy times here. And I think there was unhappy relationships with the father as well. But what we do see is at the age of, 20 or so, he really starts to carve his independence, become his own person, make choices for himself, and really get a sense of his own individuality. And you can see there's a strong look at the determination here is just unreal. The drive, the motivation. This is a key characteristic of a fire hand. The ambition comes alive here and really comes in through materialization. We see a line reaching towards Mercury, this learning. So quite often when people develop and gain skills and grow in their 20s, it's towards the Saturn mount, it's towards career. But for Jack Ma, there's learning here. There's a real sense of, no, I'm going to do this, whatever it takes. And Mercury is this place of science and logic, maths, calculations. language, skills, writing, memory, and obviously communication, but and expression. But all of those skills come under that. Without those skills, we are lacking in mercurial traits. And what's really interesting is at the age of 25, notice the fate line here. It changes. We have an overlapping fate line just here. I'm going to mark it out. So we have this fate line here that actually stems from Luna, this drive and need to put themselves out there. There's an emotional connection with the, experiences and how this influences others on put themselves on a stage in some way, work with others, and influence and affect the lives of many. And at the age of 25, this fate line here, you can see there's an overlap here. There's a complete change in their path in life, and it moves over more towards Apollo, more towards this person's talents, more towards what they're good at and what makes them happy, what satisfies them more. It's more towards, a business, logical, mathematical side of things. And as it does, it reaches up to the headline and stops at the age of 35. And then we've got at 35, we've got this, again, this forcing line towards Mercury. And this is really the taking off of his business here. And so what I think we have at 25 or so is the development of this person's talents. He's literally changed the course of his destiny by bettering himself through learning, education, university, and changed the course of his destiny by improving, by this self-improvement, by this self-development. And then at 35, of course, Alibaba, the company which he is, so famous for, which he made his wealth from, is set up. And, his mercurial skills really come into his own. There's the business. This is what this really represents. In a sense, it's some sort of business line. And what's really interesting about Jack Ma's hands are, when you look a little bit closer on this other image here, it's a bit clearer. We can see the fate line here, the bottom of the fate line here, and this is about the age of about 19 or so. This is where the success line is directly linked. So whatever decision he made at this age enabled his success in in his life. It's one of those key years, key event years. And then also at 20, mid-20s or so, maybe sort of late 20s, you can see this development, this ambition, this effort made here, and it's towards Jupiter, this self-development. And I think, it coincides with this little crossing over of the fate lines here. There's a direct influence with this person's path, who they are, growth, and it is most likely this marriage line here, this attachment line here. It was likely marriage. This marriage line here is about the age of, early mid 20s-ish. Now there is another marriage line. That's for the future. Let's have a look at where Jack Ma is on his lifeline at present. So he is, how old is he? He's 59, thanks Google. So 59 on the palms for Jack Ma, he's about here, and you can see there's a disturbance in the lifeline. The last few years for Jack Ma have been a real upheaval, very stressful, very difficult, lots of obstacles. But you can see after this time, it's, a little bit easier until I would say about 75, there appears to be some major kind of digestive issue here that's debilitating. It could be colon, it could be intestinal. There's a health issue here to do with the digestive tract that is significantly, um, a big barrier, big obstacle. And I would say it's about this time that Jack Ma stops working. So that's the kind of uh, potential future age for Jack Ma to stop working. About 75, he'll probably retire. However, I've also marked here on the Sun line or the Apollo line his current age as well as his career. And you can see actually they coincide with one another because, and you might well have already looked at this and thought, well, I hope you're going to explain what this means. There's a secondary marriage line here, which I promised I'd get around to, or attachment line as it should be called. Notice how it points towards the sun line here. So Jack Ma is here at the moment, just around the corner. Very soon there will be a potential marital affair, an extramarital affair, and you can quite clearly see it sort of hitting the sun line here, and it's the Apollo and the Mercury mount, they show us, they reveal our worth, our abilities. It's us putting ourselves on display. And so essentially, this kind of scandal is something that everyone will know about. It's just around the corner for this person. And it could be, this is Jack compensating for his weakened ego. However, his current wife, the person that he married in his 20s has helped with that self-development that I mentioned earlier. This strong effort line ambition, it's just improving self-worth. And actually, part of the reason why he's so successful is likely due to his marriage to his wife, because she has helped and enabled him to grow as a person and strengthened all of his weaknesses, provided him with the support that he has always, required throughout life, this emotional support, emotional development. And so really Jack Ma's lesson in life is to not to give in to his temptations and to do right by those who have done right by him. The signs for philanthropy in palmistry are, well, several really. I mean, a strong, large Jupiter mount, a heartline that reaches up onto Jupiter, which I don't quite see here actually. So I'm wondering if his philanthropist efforts are more political or financial, or perhaps he's conscious about the things that, perhaps there's guilt here. I don't quite see it. However, I am just looking at the right hand, so it's not entirely accurate. Also, it would be a low-lying heartline. We certainly see that here. However, the heartline seems to kind of stop just under Saturn, which does kind of imply self-interests are at heart, really. And also, it's someone who's more inclined to material interests as well. So there are some contradictory elements here in his hands. The lifeline, quite tightly hugs the Venus mount, reducing the overall size of the Venus mount, which shows this person probably has trust issues and likely has a very small social network, a very few friends, close knit social circle. There we go, got it out in the end. And just jumping back a couple of years, I'd say maybe 10 years or so ago, or perhaps seven, we see here an issue with the mother in particular, perhaps Jack Ma's mother had some health issues at this time. But yeah, just around the corner for this person, there's certainly some sort of defamation, some sort of character damage. And I think there's probably a bit more in terms of this person's prosperity and happiness. There's more stress on the horizon for this person. And I think, this health issue at 75, which we can see here, you see it more clearly here. This is the health line, and it's cutting through the lifeline, and where it does, it's coming from Venus, and a health line that does that, it always shows someone with digestive issues. And there's a large island on the lifeline where this occurs, so this is actually quite a strong physical health development. So it's really important, and you can also see that the palm itself, just around this area here, where the digestive tract is represented in the palm, is quite sort of hollow. So there's a weakened colon, perhaps intestines. So unfortunately, there is the possibility for something like Crohn's disease or, intestinal colon cancer, something like that. It's kind of an extreme prediction, but I'm just sort of throwing it out there as conjecture. So, as promised, some of the wealth signs seen in palmistry are certainly a headline that stops underneath Apollo. You would likely want to see a success line that's long, that stems from the career, that indicates, um, certain sort of choices made directly influence and strengthen a person's ability to make money. You definitely need to see increased lengths of the second phalanges on all the fingers, ideally. You want to see a long Mercury finger, no matter how low set. The finger offset this length against the bottom two phalanges of Apollo, and you'll know if you've got a long Mercury finger. This certainly is a long Mercury finger. The squareness of the palm is actually quite a strong element in terms of practicality. And, um, you know, a rectangle, sort of square palm like this shows that analytical, down-to-earth, practical nature, someone who is able to utilize those numbers and statistics. You'd really want to see a strong, well-balanced, developed thumb with a good equal amount of logic and willpower, and this enables a person to act in a measured way in terms of, their thoughts and acting on those thoughts. A business line as well, a strong business line, which you can actually see just here. You see actually at sort of 29 or so, you see this little line, which I didn't notice before, drifting up towards Mercury, creating a little money line right here on the Mercury mount. And that's another sign that you'd want to see. This is another wealth sign in palmistry. And of course, the strength of the sun line, whether or not it flourishes out with branches. And really, I look at the sun line or Apollo line as well as the fate line or career line, destiny line, as almost like plants. And if they have these strong roots, if they have roots embedded in the heart line. It shows that strength of support from a partner in a relationship, which actually is another positive sign of the possibilities of, gaining wealth when we have that kind of support, when we have the foundations necessary. Drive and determination as well is really important. Look at inner Mars here. Look at just how well developed, how large this is. It's significantly large, and it's divided by his loyalties towards the domestic sphere, towards his wife and family, and to work. There's a clear divide here. This is someone who is extremely ambitious, determined, motivated, driven. And these factors here are all key signs of wealth in palmistry, gaining and achieving wealth. In particular, having a square palm and short fingers really is quite a key common characteristic in someone who's very materially inclined. But a lot of the characteristics of obtaining wealth signs in the hands are seen in the characteristics themselves. And a lot of the signs I've pointed out here are in the chirognomy, the hand shape and fingers. So again, just to reiterate, in terms of future, Jack Ma, just around the corner, a couple of years or so, I would think maybe 3 years tops, we're going to see potentially extramarital affair, some real character destruction, defamation perhaps. And then at 75 or so, um, maybe 73 at the earliest. I'm going to say there's some serious sort of health issues relating to the gut. Mm, not very positive, I'm sorry. But that's my palm reading for Jack Ma. Let me know what your thoughts are. Thank you very much for watching, by the way, and all of your comments and subscribers are growing quite quickly now, and I'm just so amazed and humbled as well. Thank you for all of your support. Let me know who you'd like me to read for next Sunday's case study. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.